Hey everyone, welcome back to Work Right with Rich, the show where we get into the honest, unfiltered side of what it really takes to make work, well, work. I'm Richard Farmer, your host and managing director at CXC. Joining me again is Sherry Jiang, entrepreneur, AI engineer, educator, and one of the most influential voices helping people make the most of the AI personally and for their business. In the first part of our conversation, we explored AI literacy and how people are now using AI to create things that they would have been out of reach just a few years ago. In this episode, we get a lot more practical. Sherry shares what she's seeing firsthand, from teams building and launching products in weeks instead of months, to how AI is changing the way we think about skills, expertise, and productivity. From concept to like launching a product, what's the biggest change? So from your time at Google to now, what's the time difference between the two?
Yeah, I'll give you some numbers, right? What may have taken 6 months and 6 engineers, you can probably build in like 6 days with one person without raising like $1 million of seed funding. And I'm saying this from personal experience because that's actually how I built my first startup. Was like, this was, pre-AI, right? I built a startup pre-AI, so I totally have an understanding of like what had to be done before. And you would spend all this money and time just to realize you don't have product market fit, or even like answer the first step of product market fit. And it was so expensive to build a company. So like, it's tough, right? And that's why I think being lucky actually mattered a lot more as a founder before, because if you made the right bet in that 6-month period, right, then you're on the right track. Now, with compressed timelines, you can actually manufacture luck, right? It's just actually how many shots can you take at the goal and then getting that right over time. So I'll tell you how I build products today. It's no longer like, let's do like a huge public release and, wait many weeks to see what the metrics are. I started an approach of product development where I can spin up like a new product every day. So it's almost like, imagine you can simulate a new reality every day. You bring 3 to 5 people as customers to interview. You get feedback on what what they like and don't like. You implement those feedbacks into the product. You go to bed, you wake up, and then you test with another set of users. So I basically taken now what used to be maybe 6 months of a shot at one reality of a product and boiled it down to 24 hours, right? So it's like an insane time scale difference, because in the past, like let's say a week is like five days, right? That would have been 3 years or 6 months of trying to do all of this. And that means you actually can win by just being able to iterate and test really fast and relying on luck, because you don't have many shots at a goal if you have 3 years and 6 month cycles to do things. So I actually think there'll be a lot more successful companies, right, that don't have to rely on luck if they just have a formula for experimenting and moving incredibly fast, because you can do this with the tools now.
Yeah, I can again agree with everything you're saying. The future, as I see it, I think you'll have loads of smaller companies, about 20 to 50 people, that'll be global. Right, in the long term future, you might in say kids growing up. I don't know. Don't want to challenge the bigger corporates, but I think you'll see that. And maybe the corporates will break down into smaller groups of how they go out about their products. But I think that's because you won't need as many people, but there'll be more of these options. I think there'll be more platforms that more people can use. But like what you just said is crazy, right? It's blown my mind a bit. Like, how do you? And this is more of about you as a person, because you're very inspiring in your conversation. But how do you manage this at this pace? How do you prioritize your time? Because you wake up in the morning, you've just gone, I've had another company. Now, for me, I've got ADHD, and so I'll be like, oh yeah, I've done that one. Yeah, I can tell. So you kind of like, so for me, you'd be like, okay, I've done that one, I've moved on. I've done this one, I've moved on. Done this one, but I haven't finished that one. So, but like, how do you keep up with this pace that you're going on? Because you're at the forefront, right? You're at the tip of the spear, so it's moving so fast. How do you manage that from a wellness perspective, but a personal perspective?
I pick my obsession points and I stick to it. And if I don't know what's going on in other spaces, I think I'm okay with it. Like, I think there are some people who are like, if I don't feel like I know a little bit of all these things and I'm in conversation and I'm like, oh, I don't know what buzzwords to drop here. It makes me feel insecure. Like that'll create a lot of anxiety because, and that's what causes people to want to have a shallow understanding in all different
Mm,
areas to like have conversational cachet. I had this approach where, like, you know what? I'm just going to accept I don't know that much about this. And that's okay because I have obsessively invested in how to build everyday AI products, right? Like, I don't think that that many other people in the world who've spent as many hours trying to sit down with like the next Gen Z people on how they manage money with AI, sat down and translated those insights into a product. Like, I pick my obsession and I focus on that. And if I don't know everything about like I don't know, the newest stuff going on in pre-training. Like a lot of the stuff around like chip design and everything. Like, I'm not an expert there. I just like, I can just tell you, does the model give me good answers? And I'm sure somewhere if you back all the way, there's a decision around a chip. But I'm not an expert on that. And I kind of accept it. So I think that's what helps me sleep at night where like I pick the areas where I want to be good at. And if I'm not good at other things or know those things, so be it. But I know that if I need to know them, okay, I'll just call up a friend or I'll look it up and figure it out. But I don't need to know everything.
yeah, I think that's great. I love that. Pick your obsession points. I think it's great. Like it's unfortunately mine's usually wine. So red wine or something like that. So I need to
It's a
have more
great
of a
one.
focus on this. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that's a really good tip for people because I think honestly, where people are getting to a point of this saturation point of AI is that a lot of conferences you go to and they're talking about it, but no one's actually doing it. Which is where this like conversation I'm really enjoying it because you're talking about actually doing things with it, not what's it going to do, where is it going to be. So I think people have got to the point of either they've gone, it's too scary for me. I'm not going to know about it. I'm just going to, like you say, like I can talk a bit around it, or I can use my platform for certain things. Or people are going really deep and leaning in. But there's always those first people. But I think the opportunity there is really exciting. But that's good. So I love that. Moving that phase, product within 24 hours, find your obsession points. I think that's absolutely fantastic. But like, if you're going back, so we talked about you and how you've managed to move this, but say you've got a leader, they've got a business, they know they've got some issues, right? So say it could be they want a agent or they want something to, like you're an SME business
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're wanting to can be, uh, continue to be successful and compete, right? What advice would you say to them as an owner operator to go, right, in the next 3 to 6 months, how do I get AI ready? What do I do for myself to become literate in what this is going on?
Yeah.
Because I'm not in a big corporate that can teach me. I haven't
Yeah.
got a
Yeah.
bigger business. I might not have a coach or something like that. So what would your advice be, Sherry?
Yeah. Um, I probably first ask them, how much money versus how much patience do you have? Because you can basically decide if it's a build versus buy decision. And I've actually seen this, right? Where
Mm,
there are like look, if you're SME, you are busy. You have so many things to manage. And I probably can't always just go in and tell them, like, look, you've got to drop 5 hours a day and learn all this tech stuff. And if
mm,
you have the resources to basically get help from somebody who can implement some of these things, like do all of that, I think that's actually fine. I've seen so OpenClaw, this automation software, all this stuff is kind of it's a bit of a hot topic, but really it's like there's as an SME, I've seen so many people managing scheduling and stuff still on email. Like there's no like formalized process for a lot of pretty tedious tasks. If you just want someone to get you a head start and you have the cash flow to support hiring somebody to do it, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, by the way. And you'll kind of
mm,
learn as you work with them, right? Just make sure you pick good vendors. If you have the time and patience to learn, then that's a different answer, which is okay, how much time do you have? Do you have 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, 3 hours a day, 5 hours on the weekend? Like, what are you balancing? And then there could be like a curriculum that you scope out, which again, if it's like I'm just trying to generally learn AI, that's pretty
mm.
hard to tackle. It's like, what is your biggest pain point, right? Are you like trying to manage your email flows and you want something that like sorts out your,
Yeah.
most important things better? Do you have to do your own marketing, but making creative assets is like really tedious. Then maybe you should learn how to use image generation models, and that is your module, right? But start
Mm.
with like what is your biggest pain point as a business owner, and then you focus on teaching yourself during those times, right? So that's kind of my thought around it. It really actually depends on the person. I know a few people who are like, look, I don't have time, but I have money. I'm going to pay somebody to do it. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
I'm going to
just
throw
think
some
that's
cash
fine.
at it.
I think
Yeah.
that's fine. I think that's actually okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do too. I think it can be a blend for both. But you made a good point on an SME person, like we're, in my business, like you spread very thin. It's like when can I
Yeah.
have the time, or when you want to be involved, you want to really research it, and you can do it, but can you not? So it's finding that point. But I suppose in another way, what the SMA person might be looking at, and looking at what's being released now, and look even what they can do on a, for example, you mentioned lawyers, right? They've just gone, give me a legal thing on this, like I don't need, like, if they were a law firm, they might be looking into the room, seeing loads of lawyers sitting there going, I don't know how much I'm doing this. So, you know, do you think it will change that? This is the biggest fear, right? That we'll see a lot of jobs get lost. Agents may replace humans in some form. Or do you think, it will actually simply change what good looks like in those roles? Will we be able to enhance people's roles?
Yeah. I think there's going to be short-term displacement. Like I am not
Mm.
going to I'm not gonna, sugarcoat
Like,
it.
yes, you could cut
The
it, yeah.
the reason why is about the pace of change, right? It is like you can do it tomorrow to decide as a company that you're gonna get rid of 50% of jobs. That is the case, right? You
Mm,
decide as a company. But to get the 50% of the people to then upskill and do other things that are like valuable, they enjoy all that, is not gonna take 24 hours. That's gonna take time to learn because our own operating systems as humans like we're not software. You just can't just download something and do it as of yet, right? We're
mm,
neurologically constrained by our own learning capacity and as a factor of our open-mindedness as well, right? So I think in the short term it's going to be some challenges, right? I will not sugarcoat that, right? If you're in a role where it is very 1 + 1 = 2, it's very deterministic, uh and you don't want to upskill or change anything, like the reality is that that is at risk. Like
yeah,
I'll sugarcoat it. But I think in the long term, there will be more and more roles where you can take what your base skills were before and elevate it. So I mean, I'll give an example, right? I think like graphic design is a good one. If you're somebody who relied on your ability to move around pixels and create banners and stuff as a production skill, like you just made it, uh you will probably no longer be able to just rely on your ability to make a creative asset. But creating a piece of asset, right, that speaks to the audience, that's well crafted, that like accomplishes a goal is actually not easy, right? Like you have to have like some empathy around how do people like,
mm,
you know, little decisions around how, the size of the header versus the subtext, or what do you want people's attention to be drawn to, those are all things that rely on your ability to understand how people perceive information. And probably there's some taste as well, which is like how do you create something that looks aesthetically
mm,
pleasing in a certain way or creates an emotional effect, right, in a way that you want. That's all stuff that I would say that AI cannot really do that well because it requires an understanding of humans, right? So if you're
yeah,
a graphic designer and you tone your skills in that taste, and then you also know how to make designs, like you are going to be like in demand, right? Like people still want that, but if you're just like, oh, I can like move some boxes on Adobe,
yeah.
it doesn't. AI can do that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think that's great advice. Again, I think it's enhancing those skills, right? You become the best designer you'd ever be. And
yeah,
like, as you mentioned, you could be doing five people's work. I've always worked in the recruitment field and, like executive search and all these different areas. They're like, of course, you can search now, you can find different CVs, you can do different stuff. But I think you'll have someone that can work all those data platforms sitting across the two, but there's still going to be someone that needs to have a conversation at some point
yeah,
because that AI reaching out, talking about a role or a different role or something that's completely different. You can't search about that. We will see a massive change that everyone's looking at skills now, not titles. So it's like, what can you actually do
Yeah.
and how can you do it and how can you enhance it? So I think that's one thing we'll see in this area. I think you'll see impacts in finance, legal, like you said, anything that's a repetitive task, but that doesn't mean those individuals should leave. So if I was an SME owner, I'd be looking at the people that have stepped up and got an interest in AI technology, say, go on a course, I'll give you some time to go out and understand what
Yeah.
we're doing and then apply it. Because the one thing that's missing when you're applying an agent or AI is the actual understanding of the job or
Yeah. Yeah.
understanding what goes wrong. You can type what could go wrong or where is the compliance need in this country, which is what CXC does. We're looking at are those changes, but you don't know the fundamental niche things and issues that can go wrong, right? You know that payment dates on a certain date and so forth. So you still need that lens and
Yeah.
humanness. And I also think the key thing that you can add to your product, in my opinion, is the storytelling, which is the human element of
Yeah.
like why, like you mentioned before, about why is it going to help people? Why do people need it? I think that you can build it. So I think that moves really quick. So I think that this is good. So I think we've got some really good advice for the listeners out there and leaders. I suppose, last couple of questions for you. I could talk to you all day, Sherry, about AI, but also, yeah, just love the energy. But like from a perspective, if we had a conversation in 2 years, what do you think would surprise us the most about how our AI has changed the way we work? Where do you think we could be in 2 years' time?
Oh, so you're saying like what I would be surprised about, or what do I expect?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so if we had a conversation again in 2 years, so 2 years from
Yeah.
now, I'm sure
Okay.
we'll speak before. But what do you think would surprise us about how AI has changed? So we're in the future.
Yeah.
AI
Yeah.
has not managed to do time travel yet, but what could we be looking at differently? What could be like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I have a couple of like predictions, and I'm just gonna rattle it off my head. I think that you're going to see a lot of very small teams that are billion-dollar companies. Um
Mm,
and they might be in spaces that like are completely unexpected. Maybe the customers of some of these companies aren't even like humans themselves, that it could actually be agents that are, you know, have some kind of access to, um, you know, monetary means, being like, as an agent, I want context from humans to do my job
mm,
better. So I'm paying these companies that know humans to give me data on this. So let me give a bit of background on why I say all of
yeah,
this, because this actually goes into my own work. One of the most valuable things that the guy, Alexander Wang, who leads Meta's AI efforts, he talks about one of the moats you can have is actually around proprietary data. So why is for example Pokemon Go, right, which is this game that was
yeah,
very viral, like why is that so interesting in the age of AI now? It's because actually through the augmented reality game they trained a data set of how streets look like and everything that now is going into robotics. But like that is like, again, uh it was like that's something that became valuable for agents to do their work better, right? So there may be more companies that are super valuable, that are actually creating proprietary data sets that um, pro- give the agents context that they couldn't have done any other way. And the thing that I'm exploring actually through my own company is
right,
creating proprietary behavioral data. So how do you understand how humans behave? And one of the best ways you do that is how do they interact in applications, right?
right,
If I'm using Duolingo and I'm doing this lesson, where are my failure points, and how does that actually lead to AI's understanding of pedagogy or the art of learning, right? In my case, the behaviors, attitudes, whether or not people act on self-awareness when it comes to saving money, that is something that does not come out of the box for agents, right? So there could be a lot of these companies that, so they're, one of their sole jobs is actually creating these data sets that these agents could then use. So it's kind of a reversal, right? Where you normally wouldn't see that case. So maybe that's a bit out there, but that's like one thing that I've
well, I
been
like
thinking
it.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree that there's the data set and then there's the understanding of the humanoids. Like it's weird because Pokemon Go's come back again. It's now being used all the time, but it's
Yeah.
amazing what people have actually created. They don't understand what they've created, and they could come back to that. And you mentioned something then, like loads more questions just came to my mind. Like one, robotics. Where are we going to see robots in 2 years, kind of walking around? We've already got them in the streets, delivering pizzas. I think I totally agree on the companies. I think you'll see some $1 billion startups, and you could see people that are moving away, you know, just from the pure play on Instagram and so forth. But you've seen the biggest change. So I saw a stat the other day. So 80% of like written text has gone, right. So like people that work for newspapers and so forth. So that really declined. But the amount of people making content has gone up 600%. So actually, they're still doing the same role, but it's just done in a different way.
Yeah.
So I think AI could be we're doing the same things, but just doing it differently and get a different result. He may look differently in a lens. I think there's going to be the automation around just how we use it on a day to day basis. I think there'll be a big impact on education from my perspective. I think the way we've always taught in schools and universities will have to change.
Yeah, for
They're
sure.
saying that plumbers, people fixing houses and so forth, be paid more than lawyers soon, because it's practical, right? You can't
Yeah.
get someone doing a house in a Victorian house in England. They don't how to do old age plumbing, so there's going to be some big scales. One thing to get your point on, and this one came from the diary of the CEO. It was one of the guests there, and he said that in 2029 we're going to have the biggest financial crisis, right, due to data and AI. And his point was being that there's been two senior financial impacts in the world. Once when we made rail, which was in the UK, we paid for it over time, and it grew and grew and grew, but we got years and years of usage out of it. Then there was electricity in the US and the UK, where we put all electricity cables and went through, but we got years and years of usage. But he's saying that we put so much money into data centers, which is AI led, but we only get 4 years of worth of the parts. And also, who's going to pay it back? Because no one pays for AI. It's ChatGPT and so forth. It's free. So, I mean, from that perspective, he's saying that you could see, because I know you're obviously across finance, payments.
Yeah.
Do you see that could be a problem?
Yeah. I mean, so basically, I mean, the for this kind of to happen, you make the argument that the cost of uh the infrastructural cost of doing all of this is going to balloon in such a way that it
Yeah.
surpasses the economic value in that point of time to be able to kind of pay it back and make it make sense, right?
Yeah. And we've
Yeah.
invested all the retirement funds in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably just be speculating at this point, but
Mm.
I think there could be multiple, uh, I guess, realms of possibility here. I mean, one realm of possibility is that we haven't found a cost-effective way to create
Mm.
AI, and a lot of people's monies, governments are tied into like open AI, all these guys doing things like, quote unquote, unsustainably with like all this hyperscale, right? And
Yeah.
we encounter a financial crisis. That is certainly something that can happen. But there's also probably realm of possibility number two, which is yes, the costs are going to keep going up, 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 but we did not foresee how much economic benefit this would
We
actually
could get.
provide. We can get where like the economic benefit plus the investor sentiment caught up to a point where even though the costs have ballooned, it's actually smaller in comparison to the benefit, right? And I think Anthropic CEO Dario talks about this like thing
Mm.
called law of diffusion, right? Which is like, do you believe that the economic benefits of AI are going to diffuse at X or Y rate? And if it diffuses at a slower rate at X, if compared to the cost, and that's where you have a problem. But if it diffuses at Y economically and it goes much, much faster and outpaces what we predict, then you avoid maybe some of those problems in scenario two, right? There's then maybe a realm of possibility number three, which is something I find really interesting, is actually this alternative form of creating intelligence, which is creating smaller models, right? How do you actually
Yeah.
like create this intelligence without having to like shove everything in, use like scale as your main lever, and just hope it works. And we're starting to see actually some emerging players here. And one of the ladies actually we're bringing to our conference, AI engineer, is someone named Sarah Hooker, who is building a new company called Adaption, and their whole thesis around creating these smaller, more efficient, adaptive models that aren't like,
Mm.
hey, let's just download the entire intelligence of everything that's been out there on the internet and then lock in that piece here today and let it just do its thing. She's building something where, okay, let's actually have the intelligence of the model adapt along its way with use cases without having to, utilize the same kind of hyperscale before. So it's actually more similar to how humans learn. It's like when I was growing up, like it wasn't like, someone tried to teach me everything about everything that happened in the history of mankind. It was like, okay, now you can ride a bicycle, right? It was like,
Yeah.
let me just learn and adapt. Oh, bicycle. Okay, these are the motor skills I need. I need to know balance, right? Okay, now I learned those things, and that's what goes into my mind. So if that's the case, and the computational cost of these kind of models go down lower, and then they're diffused in a way that actually is quite compelling compared to the, hyperscale players, then maybe you avoid some of those issues as well. So I can't predict the future, Richard, but I can tell you like how
It's a hard question. I just
I
wanted to
think
know your
about the
thought process. Yeah.
yeah. So I usually look at like what I call realms of possibility, right? And then
Mm.
over time, I take my opinion based on new information coming in, like, okay, I think it's like 60% likely it's scenario two, right? Or maybe
Yeah.
it's 20% likely.
Yeah, I like the realms of possibility in terms of, but I think the smaller models is probably the way forward. I think that's where we go to because it's just drawing too much power. I've done a lot of
Yeah.
work in environmental science and sustainability, so you can look at it from that perspective and go, okay, well, we can't keep using this much power and we keep growing. So, is there an AI product that you've seen that's been taken to market recently that you've thought, I wish I invented that? In terms of you're like, oh, got a bit of a crush on it. Go, oh, that's so good. I really like that's a good one. I'd like to use that. I wish that was me.
I think there's so many ways I can answer this, but maybe I'll just start out by sharing one of mine that I use a
Mm,
lot. I mean I can't say like I wish I built it because I also feel like maybe I'm not the right founder to build it. I just think it's a great tool. It's
mm,
one called Manus. I
yeah,
talk about it all the time. It's Manus. Um,
yep,
People ask like why would you use Manus over GPT and everything? Manus is a general purpose agent, which means it can do a lot of different things. And it could go from building PowerPoint slides to like automating like your sales pipeline on like LinkedIn. It can do what they call wide research. So if I'm like, I want to find everybody, you know, under the sun who wrote anything about coffee and this specific
yeah,
strain of coffee. It will get you 200 sources, right? Which is pretty cool. And I like Manus because it's one of the first tools I came across that felt like it actually sat down and tried to understand how humans work. Because when I use ChatGPT out of the box in the browser, it always feels like I have to do so much work to try to get it to
mm,
empathize with me. It just feels a little bit like it feels very robotic, right? And like it eventually can get there. But I feel like the Manus team really put a lot of thought into sitting down and being like, what outcomes can I drive, right? Not just like, can this
right,
AI get someone addicted to like being to talking to me and like I want to use sycophancy and like you're absolutely right, all that stuff to get the person to keep talking to me, which is how a lot of I think you know GPT
yeah.
and all these guys out of the box behave. But Manus is like, I don't give a crap about those things. Okay, how do I get your job done? And I love it. It's like very like
It's nice and
no,
simple.
it's nice and simple, right? And it just like it can intuit your human intention without you saying things super, super well. It's like it gets you without like it's like when you hang out with an old friend and your old friend like you don't even have to say much. They look at your face and you're like, man, you must have had a hard week. Do you want to sit down and talk about it? And you're like, yes, right. That's how I feel about Manus. Whereas like when I use like other products, it's like, can you explain to me why being late to a social gathering gives you anxiety? Let's break this down. Help me. It's like, okay, you're trying to like you don't feel as like empathetic that way. So that's why I like Manus. I think they were really thoughtful about how they approach
But
things, much more
where was it out of
humanized.
interest developed?
Actually, it's a Singapore-based company that was developed out of China, which is interesting because like look, when I live in Singapore, I have an exposure to like all kind of companies. I actually think that a lot of companies outside of the US build better consumer products because
Yeah.
they are much more willing to A, be wrong and be like, let's, run these 24-hour cycles where we try things, throw it out, try things, throw it out. And we run enough simulations where like we kind of understand the human, right? I don't think a lot of US companies do it as much. You get a lot more of the as a product leader, I think I'm right. And my vision is this is my vision. And the users who want to be in my vision, they'll join the product. And that's kind of it, right? And
Mm,
you kind of see that with the way some products work. I find that like part of the reason why I like Manus is it really feels like the team took effort to humble themselves and try to understand the user. And there
mm.
was no like, you know, product leader who had to push a certain vision or another. It's like let's just make what works, right? I
Yeah,
find
build
it quite
something good.
refreshing. Build something good.
Yeah, maybe that's a cultural lens as well, where they've come from. Like looking at it from a more practical standpoint, where it's like, no
Yeah.
nonsense, just this is what we do.
Yeah. I mean,
It's good.
if you think about it culturally, right? There's so much emphasis on like your IP, your idea. No one copies what I do in like the US, right? No one cares in other markets where they're like,
No.
your idea is only as good as your execution today, right? Like, I don't care, like, you came up with it, but if you do like a shoddy job of it, like, how can you say that you're the person who's like the forefront of this, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's just how well you execute.
yeah. It's ultimate tool of flattery. There's a lot of it to go around. You don't have to have the whole market, right?
Yeah,
That's good.
exactly.
Um, so this is the last question. So we always like to leave a gift on the show. So if you could gift someone something today, or leave the next person that's on the show a gift, what would your gift be?
Yeah, I probably give them $100 of credits to try 5 different AI products. I know
Perfect.
that this is like a word of wisdom or like an actual answer, but
This is right.
like it's actually insane. I would say that like today, like we're so accustomed to paying for people's time for expertise. So like
Mm,
that's why we pay for our education. That's why we pay for like lawyer fees or consult. But like there's still this like resistance. That's gonna change it. This resistance around paying for software and credits. And people are like, oh, like, I don't want to try this tool because like the free trial is not good, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
guys, like, please, we gotta like adapt our mindset. So oftentimes I find that if I like, and we do this in our class too, if you give people credits, then they suddenly realize like, oh my gosh, this is so I'm getting so much juice for $100. I might
Yeah.
be getting like 20K of value from like $100 of credits. And like that helps you kind of see the whole world, right? So I that's what I give them. I'd be like, look, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, pay me like $1,000 and I will pretend I'm some AI guru and teach you some stuff. I pocket it and make you feel good, but you don't know anything. I'll be like, look, my best gift to you is I just give you the tools. Here's some credits. You ask me questions as you're trying to build something, but your best learning is actually how you kind of teach yourself.
Well, perfect. I love it. I'd probably, I second that, but I'd probably just give them some time to go and do it.
Yeah.
So just go, here's a day. No one's going to disturb you. Go and have some fun.
Yeah.
Play with
Go
your
go and
credits
have
and go for it.
fun. Go
Yeah,
burn
go and
it,
have
burn,
fun.
go to town, right? Like don't be like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm worried about spending. It's like go to town, right? This is your
yeah.
tuition. This is you're paying to learn.
Yeah, it's a lot cheaper than university as well,
Oh, a
$100. So I
hundred
take that.
percent. I mean,
Yeah,
look, I went to school in the US and like the private schools are like charging you up to like 60K a year for tuition.
yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
$100 a month sounds like it pales in comparison to like
it does, it does, it does. Paying school fees, as I know very well, I wouldn't mind $100. That'd be
yeah.
fantastic. But look, Sherry, absolutely fantastic to me. You would love the conversation, but how do people get on your course? Two, where do they find you?
Yeah, for sure. So they can find the course at codewithay.xyz.
Okay.
You can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn. If you search up Sherry Jiang, you should find the result. pretty quickly.
Yeah,
All the names of the stuff I do are very straightforward. So it's like, what's the class? Code with AI. What do? You code with AI. So
that's excellent. And I'd love to take the course as well. Who knows? I could
yes,
be creating something. I think I might bring my son as well.
yes. We've had a few like mother son, father son duos come to class. Like
Ah,
it's a fun time.
it's a fun time. Yeah, and you're just getting shown up by your 11-year-old. But that's fine. But look, an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I've really enjoyed the conversation. It's been
Yes, thank you so
fantastic.
much for having me, Richard.
Yeah.